Good morning, everybody. This is Diggs. It's another beautiful day out here in the Pacific Northwest, and there has been a lot of hype and a lot of talk about Relixx, even though it's been mostly confirmed through rumors that he's not going to be the next released familiar. We do think he's going to be coming soon. So let's talk about why people are so excited about him. Let's go into his specific abilities, and let's go ahead and dig in. So Relixx is going to be a rare plus dark familiar, and he is going to be very powerful. He's going to have both applications in PvE and PvP, and he's going to be moderately successful in familiar arena as well. Now, I'm going to go ahead and put on a video of Relixx right now for you guys because, of course, you can't read Korean, and so there's not really a point in me putting up the Korean stats for you to look at, but we are going to talk about his abilities. So his passive ability that he does have is going to increase damage based on the amount of attack familiars that you have. This is pretty standard stuff. We do normally have this right now with other familiars like Kona and so forth. I think where people are really excited for him though is going to be with his ability. Now, his ability, his active ability, is going to be able to land bind as well as blind on your opponent. Now, it does deal damage and it does increase damage to targets that have erosion, so it is kind of like a increase more damage against your opponent, but it doesn't really get more powerful the higher level you get. So the bind and the blind is still going to stay the same, and that's probably what most people are going to use him for. So when you're using him in PvP, you know, unless you have super high attack and you're going to one-shot people, right? It doesn't really need to be awakened any more than awakening 0. So for those of you that are looking to get an advantage in PvP, that want to land that bind and that blind for 2 seconds on your opponent, you can just get an awakened 0 version of this and use this familiar. So definitely something to consider, being able to have a familiar and take advantage of that, particularly not having to awaken it, kind of like how with Molten Lion, right? You need to have Molten Lion more awakened in order for the invulnerability to last longer. You don't need that with Relixx. So that's part of what makes Relixx so incredibly powerful and so useful. So tons of people want to pull for Relixx, and people have been saying, you know, hold your tickets. There was a whole conspiracy that he was going to be coming out this coming Wednesday, which now has been like debunked, and we now think that a water familiar is coming out this Wednesday. It's just all over the board right now. So you should be hyped for Relixx. Relixx is definitely going to be a great PvP familiar to have in your formation, and he's going to be relatively, you know, you're not going to be needing to be a Giga Whale in order to pull out the best of him. Now, his familiar arena ability is interesting, I would say. It's not necessarily the best. I don't know that I would be using it all the time. And again, if you're pulling Relixx and you're not getting a high awakening version of him, you may not be wanting to put him in your familiar arena team. His familiar arena ability is going to increase damage dealt to units that have erosion, or I think it's on the global side, we call it corrosion from the dark units. It's going to give synergy with other dark units. It's also going to land silence on the opponents that it hits. Could be okay. I kind of wonder if having Penguicorn, for example, at a higher level awakening, because most people are going to have a higher level awakening Penguicorn than they're going to have a like plus 300 Relixx or something, right? I almost wonder if the damage mitigation from Penguicorn being able to blind your opponents and kind of, you know, continue to be that long range damage dealer might be better in the long run. So overall, I would say Relixx is absolutely a familiar to be hyped for. I think Relixx is definitely going to be good. I think most people are going to want to pull at least one copy of him, but I don't think he kind of deserves the hype that everybody is hyping up. I think he's going to be good. I think he's going to be probably as good as Kona. He'll probably have that capability and that power, but I don't think he's going to be an absolute like destroyer of everything. I don't think he's going to be kind of like I almost feel like the hype is not necessarily like I feel like, no, like familiars can be powerful, right? Kona is absolutely powerful in PvP. But I feel like if we're talking about like account power as a whole, like I feel like familiars are never something that I'm like, oh my god, like we're gonna get so much power from this one familiar. I feel like, you know, I would be much more excited instead of a familiar if we got like the cursing system, if we got like the voodoo dolls, right? Like I feel like that would be way more exciting to me because you would get way more power through voodoo dolls than you would through a single familiar. But in terms of like familiars and familiars to be hyped for, if you are someone that does PvP, this is going to be a very exciting familiar for you. All right, everybody, thank you so much for watching, and I hope you guys all have a great rest of your day.